Hi, everybody. This is Karen A. from Jerusalem, and I am super psyched to be with you here today because I just had a miracle, a real deal recovery miracle. My youngest daughter has hearing aids. You'll excuse me. This isn't my usual intro, and I've filed for disability for years, and I pray for to support my kids to have more finances and all that, even though the big book tells us not to worry about that. So I did what I got to do, filled out the tomes and tones of paperwork and just keep working my program, working with others, connecting to amazing people in our brotherhood and sisterhood like Purdy here and our Reco12 family that I'm going to talk to a bit. And the other day I was like, I haven't really prayed for this to come through. And I was at the grave of a holy saint in Netivot, the famous Baba Sali, the miracle worker, about 3 hours after there was missile barrage there yesterday. And I said, God, I'd like to have more money to support my children comfortably. We could pray for others, right? The big book says that. And I said, and could you take care of that disability stipend? And this morning I have the envelope, I have the paperwork, I get discounts from all utilities. So just a plug for the power of prayer, this spiritual program. The promises, financial insecurity will leave us. The 250 promises of our big book. And we're going to dive deeper into that today. So that's just a little teaser of what's in store for you if you're new or if you're renewed, growing along spiritual lines like I am. I'm your host, Karen A. here in Jerusalem. This is the Reco12 Afro-Euro podcast. We spread the light of recovery no matter what your fellowship, whether you're in OA, AA, CA, CODA, and I know there's a whole lot more, a gambler, a slaw, a SA, or all of the above. Whatever your addiction or affliction, you are welcome here. This fellowship is open to all who seek to recover, who seek a closer connection with a higher power of their own understanding. If you want more info on Reco12, whether it's to hear old podcasts, older, you could go to Reco12.com. If you think you have some great experience, strength, and hope to share, there's a speak pipe there. You can record a short share, or you could send me a WhatsApp directly. I'm always looking for new people, new inspiration for my own program and for the program of thousands of fellows across the globe, not only in our Afro-Euro Timezone where people could join live, but this recording is listened to hundreds of people worldwide. So if you'd like to share, reach out to me. Without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to host Purdy. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your recovery bio, a little bit about yourself, how you got here to Reco12. I believe you founded another series of meetings and all that good stuff that you got for us. Thank you, Purdy. Thank you for joining us.
No problem at all. And good morning. So my name is Purdy. I'm a recovered addict, recovering human being. I came into this program after an absolute, 40 plus years of madness, addiction, and just searching for a place that I could call home, I suppose. And, for me, came into fellowship and just incredible 12-step program, a unity, a fellowship, and a map, a pathway. And I was in. And it's just, it's given me a new life. It's given me a peace. I was very fortunate enough to share on another Reco podcast the other day and spoke about a mind that sits free. That's how I feel today. I have a free mind. I have a peaceful mind, and it feels incredible. And that's given me the get up and go, the love inside me to want to create fellowship. Created and founder of the beautiful Spiritual Cartel over here in the UK. A meeting that runs 365 days a year, recovery every single day of the year for people to come in, and it's just gone from strength to strength. I'm extremely proud. Lots of service, so we're getting people in the triangle, lots of people coming in for sponsorship, and it's very, very proud of it. So sitting here smiling, as you said earlier, smiling and sitting free, which from where I was, where we were, just seems incredible, really.
Amazing. This floor is yours now for 20 minutes. If you want, I'll give you
no problem at all.
We're going to have some Q&A.
absolutely fine. Yeah, no, it's fine. So, okay, so we'll talk about, we'll get into it and get into a spiritual home and what I mean by a spiritual home. For me, see, I never had a home. I think that's the first part. I think that's part of that seeking, part of that searching, part of that hole in my soul. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know, that's how I found it. Well, that's how I tried to find it. My early life was very broken. So, you know, I was adopted and, you know, and went into care and then got picked up by a family. And that was a very mental and physical abusive scenario. I was very much made to not feel wanted, you know, and there was no childhood. And for me, you know, I just wanted to cuddle, you know, just wanted to be loved, just wanted to feel loved, just wanted someone to give me a cuddle. That's how my life started off. And I left the family home at 12 years old. You know, I went out and started my seeking, my searching. And it's a tough ask, you know, it's sleeping on the streets, London, you know, when you're 12 years old and you've got this big world in front of you and you're a baby, you know. But avatar forms, self forms very early, you know, because I don't ever want to go back to. I've made a decision in my mind that it was such a painful place that I'm going to go and find I'm going to go and find this, you know, oasis or whatever it was, this place, this home, maybe. So I go out on the streets and I start to seek. I start to, you know, like I say, I'm sleeping rough. I'm living in shop doorways. I'm breaking into places to try and keep warm at night. I remember that bone shattering cold, you know, like trying to keep warm and putting my sleeves in my arms and putting them down my jumper and, you know, rolled up as a 12-year-old kid in an old barn or something, or an old, you know, workshop or something somewhere, and just trying to keep warm, you know. I found love. I was a love junkie as what I was. I found love in drugs, in drinking, in getting out of self. All of a sudden I found these substances, and it started with everything, you know, from glue to gas to weed to speed to ease, whatever I could put inside myself to not feel like that. So I guess I found a sort of comfort. But unfortunately, I spent a life doing that, and then trying to find happiness, relationships, two broken marriages, 4 kids, all gone off in different directions, and, you know, back on the streets at a 40-year-old man. I'm not going to talk about the past. I want to talk about the spiritual home more. But I just want to give you an idea, a picture of this 44-year-old guy that comes into recovery that has just been so lost, so depressed, you know, so anxious, so full of stress and pain and suffering and pitiful, demoralizing experiences, and just had enough. I was so sad. I was so lonely. I don't think I'll ever remember quite how lonely I was, you know. I was so lonely, and you know, I needed to change. You know, suicide was part of my story. You know, when you think, yes, it was, and the first spiritual experience happened to me in that thing. I didn't know what a spiritual experience was. I didn't know recovery or spiritual awakenings or God, or, you know, I prayed to him enough times. A God I didn't believe in. I didn't have a real understanding, a real faith. But a magical thing happened to me when I was in the hospital. So I woke up in the morning and I'd obviously tried to take my life. I was found, and I sat in that bed, and there was a woman sitting at the end of the bed. Her name was Bernadette. She was a nurse. So remember I said at the beginning I was adopted. So I was an adopted kid in Cornwall, hundreds of miles away from this hospital in London, 40 years later. And she's sitting at the end of my bed. Hi, Purdy. My name's Bernadette. We're going to be taking you to a care centre. We're going to be looking after you, making sure you're okay. So, okay. We're sitting, she said, in a minute, we're going to go down to this care centre. I'm going to take you in the back of a taxi. And we're sitting in the back of this taxi and we're making small talk. And she turns to me and she says, where are you from? I said, I'm from London. She said, oh, okay. So where are you from? She said, I'm from Cornwall. I said, oh, it's strange you should say that, actually. I said, I'm actually from Cornwall. She went, oh, yeah, whereabouts? I said, oh, it's a tiny little village. You've probably never heard it. It's a little place called Troon. She said, I'm from Troon. I suddenly said, well, I was at, I moved to London, which is why I don't say, but I was adopted there. She turned from my carer into a little child right in front of my eyes. She said, you're not Melanie's little boy, are you? So Melanie was my real mum. She said, your mum? I said, yeah. She went, your mum was my best friend. When she was pregnant with you, we were trying to escape. We were hiding in barns. They were there was I think the family wanted to have you aborted. There was this massive fight going on. I said, you're joking me. So 40 years ago, you were trying to save my life, and now you're here sitting in front of me. And it's that, that message of like, you've got to do more. Something's got to happen. That's that spiritual experience, not an awakening. An awakening is a profound shift in consciousness in my mind when I alter the way that I do things, i.e. not want to drink and use again. But an experience, eyes open, God consciousness, there it is. Have some of that. Didn't quite get the message there and then. I still wanted to break myself for a few more years. But as I start to build this spiritual home, which I'll talk about now and come into recovery, it started to play a big part. It helped me with the foundation of it and the understanding. For me, that step one experience, and I talk about the steps because it's a life changer for me. It's a lifesaver for me. That first step one experience. I remember getting the 40-page big book sponsorship put in front of me, because you see me, I need to visualize. That's the way I do it. I always wanted something. I always imagined what life could be like. I always imagined the home that I wanted to be in. I could always imagine the woman that would be there with me and I could take care of and look after her. And I could imagine my kid. I was always imagining it. My mind was always just picturing and imagining. So, I first sort of come into CA and I got this big book put in front of me, which I absolutely love and adore. And it's the most beautiful piece of writing. But I didn't understand it. I couldn't visualize it. It was just words in this book. I couldn't draw forth the deeper meaning of the word because I was so full up here. So it was like just these words. So I got this big book of sponsorship put in front of me and it was a lot clearer. The map was clearer. And I started to build this spiritual home, starting with the foundation. Step one, I'm sick. You're not a bad person, Purdy, man. You're just sick. And you learn that. You learn that. I can't differentiate the truth from the false. There's a mind, a mental obsession, which sets off an allergy. And spiritually, I'm unfit. I didn't know what all this meant. But I'm listening. I had to fully concede that I was without defense against the first one, No half measures avail us nothing. Smash the idea that I'm like everybody else. I can't do like anything else because I'm looking for something else when I take drugs. I'm looking for something else when I pick up a drink. I'm looking for something else when I get a relationship. I need to be saved every single time. I need to feel this certain way every single time. And it's too much to ask of anyone or anything. So I abandoned myself to this simple program and I had that step one process put in front of me. And that was my solid foundation. My spiritual home started to be built. Started to have that beautiful platform where I completely understood, completely understood that I'm completely and utterly powerless and my life is unmanageable and there is nothing I can do about it because that is proven. My life has shown me that. So I've got this spiritual floor, this spiritual footing. Step two, come to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. These walls I need to start to build. Came to believe, willing to believe. Not here's God, right? Have some of God. That's it. There you go. I didn't quite understand it yet. So I connected with the universe to start with. That was my first in. That was my, my come to believe in a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Purdy, guess what? You don't run the whole world. You might think you do. The all-seeing eye, you do. I think everybody's thinking about me. I'm thinking about everything else. I'm trying to do everyone else's thinking as well as my own thinking and ended up absolutely getting nowhere. I thought about the universe, the metaphysical magnificence. It just is. And I wanted to live a life in my little spiritual home, in a place that I could finally call home, where it just is. The universe is beautiful. I'm looking out the window now. There's a couple of birds just flying past on the top there. I can look out to the left and I can see rocks. I can see the sea. I can see the waves just crashing against the wooden things. There's a couple of birds flying over the sea there. If I look to the right, there's trees and there's grass. I go over there further. Some of the leaves have fallen off the trees there. Just these beautiful lake. with loads of birds and swans sitting on it. Some flying over there. If I look into the distance, I can see these hills and I can see trees in the background. If I look even further, I can see these clouds. I can see the sky. The sky's grey today. I can't quite see the sun. I can't quite see the moon, but I know they're there. As day turns to night and the moon comes out and the stars come alive and we get those different moons, the moon that controls the tides. We look further than that and we can see the stars and the galaxies and the seasons, and we go into different countries and we've got the deserts and the rainforests and the mountains, and the earth spins at 1,000 miles an hour around an axis, but because of gravitational pulls, we don't fall off. I'm breathing in oxygen and nitrogen and different component parts into my body, which allow me to breathe, which allow me so I don't explode. You know, guess what, Purdy? There might be something more powerful than you out there. Maybe. Right. Are you sure about this? Are you really, really sure? Because I think I got it all sussed out. I've got a drug dealer that I'm seeing, a woman that pops around every now and again, and an off license. And I believe that I control the whole world, and the whole world's thinking about me. Seems mad when you think about it, eh? So, you know what? I'm willing to believe there might be something more powerful than Purdy out there. Maybe. So all of a sudden I start to build my walls, start to have my spiritual foundation, my home. I start to put some walls up. And then I make a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God. Fire me and hire God. Why not? Because I'm alone. You know, I'm alone. I've got no one. I can't say sorry to anyone else anymore. I've burnt every single bridge I've ever had. I can't hold down a relationship. I can't function in this world. I can't be around people, yet I don't want to be alone. So I need someone to put me up, put their arms around me, you know what I mean? Tell me it's going to be all right. Someone to talk to. So that's where I find God, you know. That's where I understand that I can't do this anymore. I don't want to run the show no more, you know. So I let it go. And that's a beautiful freeing experience. I put the roof on. I put the cornerstone on. So all of a sudden now I'm sitting in my little spiritual home, you know. Oh, hold on. I'm starting to feel, I'm getting into this. Foundation, walls, roof. But guess what? I've got to clean this place up. Is this messy? You know? But it's searching and fearless moral inventory for myself. 40 years of madness, it can be quite a lot, but it's the pen to paper step for me. If I've handed my will and my life over to God, I've put the roof on my house. I shouldn't be scared of the rain. Well, I'm scared of the rain anyway. I love the rain, but you know what I mean? The storm. Because I've put my little roof on with God. So actually, if I've let it go with God, then let's go. Let's put pen to paper. Because otherwise, my problems are still the size of the world until I get them penned on paper in front of me. I'm ready to hand over. And, you know, I can't do much about it. So I start to clean this house up. I start to sand the floors. I start to take the rough edges off. I start to put pen to paper and I start to write down all my past and things that have happened. I launched into vigorous action. I love that word, launched. I launched. No half measures, guys. You know, I wear these beads. I wear beads, you know. Not because I'm some spiritual guru that's got all the answers, not at all. But you know what? I put these on in the morning. I charge these things up. When I get up in the morning, I have to visualize, remember? I have to think. I have to be part of it. So when I get my beads, I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I close my eyes. I put my beads on. Because what it does is it just puts me in that place. It starts to get me centered. Before I go into prayer and meditation, I get to charge these things up all day with gratitude and love. And that's why I wear them. That's why I visualize, because I need that visualization. I need to remember my spiritual home, where I sit here in it. So step 4, you know, we work in those corners. I want to live in, not in my will, but in God's will. So I start to understand that. I start to visualize 4 to 5, you know, what I should be doing, how I'm feeling, my defects of character, you know, which are all start to come out. I tell another person, we go through this process and we get into step 5, we get into step 6, all these paintings, all this stuff all over the wall, all these resentments, all these fears, all this, you know, all these defects of character. And I've got to take these things down. I've got to dust them off. I've got to understand them. I've got to put them in front of me. I'm cleaning house. Trusted God. I'm now cleaning house. I'm doing those parts of it. humbly asking God to remove my shortcomings, writing a step 7 prayer. Love that process. And I do that with my sponsees. We write a step 7 prayer together. So, and I love that process. I love putting it down. I love getting it on like a scroll, and actually having it on a thing and actually looking at the character defects against obviously the principles and how to practice the principle, making sure the spiritual principles are there and in place. And I'm praying, I'm asking for the strength for those things every day. Please take away my shortcomings, the way that I act. Please, please let me live in these spiritual principles. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to do every single morning. And it really grounds me and understands me. And I love that process with sponsees. So now I'm in this house and it's starting to look a bit tidier and it's clearer. I get the quill out. So I have to visualize. So now I'm going to do my amends. Now I'm going to write my amends, because I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write these things. So I dip the quill into the ink and I start to really think about what I did. And I start to, not sorries. Can't do sorries. I've done sorries. Sorries are spent. The situation and what I could do in the future to make an amends. And I did lots of that in that process. And there was many amends to make, and what a beautiful, freeing experience that is. It says in the promises, you'll be amazed before you're halfway through. And it is an incredible experience because it's suddenly the weight, the stress, the anxiety, all that pain and fear and all that stuff just seems to lift. I remember an inner smile, a real like ear to ear, just a freedom, real stuff, real life, real stuff, real feeling. Because God is a feeling. This is a feeling for me. Visualization, feeling. Incredible experience, man. Incredible experience. I'm inside this home, cleaned it up. Now I get to help others. Starting with myself in step 10, I get to open my windows. I get to open my front door of my little spiritual home. I get to get out there in the real world. Things happen. Life is life. I can deal with them now because my mind sits free, because I have a peace, because I can see these things. I can pause when agitated. It comes to me like a recoil from a hot flame, but you can almost see it, I can get quiet in that moment, know something's going to happen. And rather than every action creates a reaction, rather than my reaction being the only thing, because that's what I lived off before, emotion, reaction, something happens, bang, I'm straight in, I go for it, but not now. Now I pause. Now I can hear it. Now I can see it, because part of my spiritual awakening is that my senses, thought, hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, I can do all these things. It feels like they're back. I'm aware of them. I can see them. As these things come in, I can pause, I can stop, I can move forward. Seek prayer and meditation. I can have a look and review my day, look at myself deep, not on some time scale that's got to be into a sponsor at a certain time, or not a closed book exercise. Once I've done it, I've done it. That's that done. It's not what this is about. This is about searching within, discern the answers within. And I love that process of deeply looking into my life and looking at how I am, because I want to be a better human being. I want to be a better human being. I don't want to live the life that I used to live anymore. So I have that two-way conversation, I can see with my eyes closed. I have that quiet space and that quiet time with God. With God. I never thought I'd be saying that. Step 12. My home's open, my door's open, my windows are open. Come in. Come in. Welcome. Let me show you. Let me show you how to build one of these things. No expert. I'm not holier than thou. But I promise you, I can show you something that saved my life. Something that helped this smashed up addict. I can show you that. If you're willing, and you want to be honest and open-minded, I can show you a way. Come in. Spiritual awakening, amazing. Obsession gone. No longer do I want to drink. No longer do I want to use. How did that happen? How did that happen? I know now, but think of God. Thank you, fellowship. You know, just incredible. 40 years, my kids, my wives, my businesses, my experiences, you know, and a lot of them weren't easy, you know. That weren't enough. But this is. And it's absolutely incredible. And now you get the opportunity to generosity of spirit to give back. Hence spiritual cartel, hence sponsorship, hence always being available, hence always being all in and there to take your call, there to talk to you at any time of day, any day. And that I have to say, since I've been in this fellowship, that is how I play. I play full out every single day. So I will finish there and just say, guys, I'm an extremely proud member of CA, this fellowship. It has completely and utterly saved my life. You guys, whoever's listening to this, completely and utterly saved my life. God saved my life. And this spiritual home that I've now built, I'm a hope dealer. I'm now in the building game as well. So if you fancy building one of these spiritual homes, get in touch. Trust God, clean house, help others. Thanks for letting me share.
Wow. Our spiritual contractor. This is just unbelievable. I'm just so moved to tears. And it's amazing how we fellows of different walks of life, different geographies, different nationalities, religions. I get what you're saying. That spiritual homelessness and finding a spiritual home and wanting that warm embrace and trying to put it on so many people and so many things, so many materialistic endeavors. It's amazing. Well, if you're on this line, I grew up a JAP, upper middle class Jewish American princess in Los Angeles. And here's Purdy, grew up, raised himself up with the help of God on the streets of London. And I relate to almost every single thing he said. Unbelievable. So, Purdy, maybe put your number in the chat if people here want to reach out to you and be in touch with you. I definitely am proud to be on your God Squad. Purdy's not messing around when he said that. He's speaking twice on Reco12 this very week. And he was just like, okay, talk about two topics. And that's how we do. That's how those of us who are working this program with the desperation of a drowning man, that's how we do. I tell my sponsees, if you're drowning and I'm on the love boat and I'm not going to throw confetti at you and say bon voyage, I'm going to jump in and save you. If you're waiting for confetti, I got other stuff to do, other people to save, including this young lady right here. Back to Purdy's story. Share with us a little bit, Purdy. This is my question, and I'm going to invite everyone else to put their questions in the chat. Q&A. Tell me, I know that there's so many promises in the big book, 250 of them. As our beloved Nikki says, and has counted or recounted. Talk to me about how your life has changed, how things have expanded on the broad highway, how things have happened for you today, and you're doing things and meeting people in ways that you never would have imagined possible. Talk to me about, let's give the audience a teaser, what they can expect.
Yeah, sure.
No, never even imaginable.
No, definitely. I think, fellowship, I've done some beautiful things since I've been in fellowship. I've traveled the UK, been to lots of different places, lots of different talks, got the opportunity to speak in Canada and America and meet lots of new folks and new people and people on the same path, we have a darkness, I think that's the great thing about fellowship. It's, we all have a dark past, some of us different stories, most definitely, but ultimately we've all got a terrifying habit. We're all unhappy and we want to be happy, right? So we've got this shared, we share a common goal. And there's an amazing emotional unity in that. There's an amazing, and getting to spend time with addicts, with fellow addicts, with, you know, in unity, going to different events, things like that. It's just incredible. It blows my mind, you know, absolutely blows my mind to just walking into somewhere, it's people faces that you've seen on screen, and getting into people and giving people a cuddle and having that, you know, people that will go out of their way, people I don't even know, you know, the generosity of spirit, you know, people I've only spoken to a few times on the phone, but all of a sudden you'll get a parcel through your door, you know, with some food or something, because you're like, well, whatever it is. And I do the same for others. It's just an incredible generosity of spirit, you know, and I love that. And the opportunity to be able to, you know, next year, you know, possibly travel and get out to Canada and go and stay. I've got some friends over there in Canada that I'm going to go and stay with, and some possible conventions, etc. So, you know, it just opens up a whole new world. And I think it's absolutely beautiful just to have that fellowship around you. And, you know, like I say, of like-minded people that you can just, you can rely on for a conversation, for a chat. You take everything to God, you know, the stuff that I'm dealing with, internal stuff, but, you know, the fellowship is beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful fellowship, and massive, you know, absolutely massive. How beautiful that we can connect here today, right, on Zoom. You know, and, you know, in the old days, it was a meeting that was scattered around wherever and you had to get to. Now we get the opportunity to press a button pretty much 24 hours a day and be able to connect to any meeting with like-minded folks anywhere in the world. I think that's amazing. You know, and the promises do come true. You know, big one for me, I think, is to cease fighting everything and everyone when I speak about promises. That's the huge one for me. Cease fighting anyone and anyone and anything. Anyone and anything, you know, including myself. I mean, that's a beautiful place to live. But yeah, extremely grateful for fellowship.
Well, talk to me about the promises. You know, you talked about being homeless, financial insecurity leaves us. We cease fighting anyone or anything. Say more. I mean, I want to stop fighting myself. I want to stop fighting my small children, my teenage children, my own emotional, you know.
Yeah. Well, another thing. I know what you mean. You know, another thing in the promises, isn't it? So it says that, yeah, cease fighting everything and everyone. You know, the one thing that is given back to me this as well, and I think I should make it clear, I was going to say it in the last section, was just to have everything back in my life, as in my kids. You know, because I've ceased fighting anyone and everything, because of the promises come true, because of the, you know, the amends that I make, I'm able to rebuild those relationships, you know, with ex-partners, with people that I terrorized. I wasn't a violent man. I was never like that. I just went missing. You know, I was just searching and seeking. This is later on in my life when I tried to hold down relationships. You know, I was always looking for that hole to be cured in my soul. I was always looking for something else. So, you know, it says in the promises, you'll be amazed before you're halfway through. We start to make these amends. That starts to put that life back together. So all of a sudden I'm building those bridges. All of a sudden I'm able to, you know, have conversations, have feelings with these people again. And that opens up the doors for my kids to be able to come back into my life. And that is an incredible thing. You know, when I ceased fighting everyone and everything, magical things start to happen. You know, all of a sudden my two children there, that bridge gets rebuilt, so much so that one of them comes to live with me. He's then gone off. He's now got a girlfriend. He's now playing football and he's building his own life. But then my other child came back into my life. He's actually probably gonna move in with me shortly. Well, I've got my 9 and my 8-year-old, and they're here almost every weekend. You know, they stayed with me all over Christmas and New Year. They're always on the phone. Can we come again? And I think obviously their mum is happy for it. She's like, yeah, do you want the kids again? I'm like, yeah, bring them on. You know, because I get to spend that time with them now. I get to be present. I get to be able to open the door of my spiritual home, you know, and say, come in. And it ain't messy in here, you know. It's a calm place. It's a calm place because I've ceased fighting anyone and everything, including myself. You know, including myself. Hey, listen.
Oh, that's a perfect segue. Someone just asked. Sorry, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No
Somebody
problem.
just put in the Q&A, when did you find peace? So when did it stop getting messy? When you just said this is a calm place, and clearly mean your physical home and your internal home, or your internal home, and then you straighten out physically and mentally, like our big book says. When did that happen? And I apologize again for interrupting you, but we just got a question on that.
No problem at all. Thank you. It happened a couple of things. I think the major one was step 9 and doing the amends. So I didn't make it clear that I unfortunately lost my first wife to suicide. She was a prisoner of my mind and my ways. She was an alcoholic. So it wasn't completely me, but, you know, I probably wasn't there for her enough. And she left this world. And the reason I say that is because obviously, you know, I left my kids in the care of her mum and dad, and I went off on a trail of destruction for years. I didn't deal with that situation very. Poor me. How could you do this to me? Me. So I left the care. So part of that step 9 amends was to write a letter, was to have a conversation with her mum and dad to say how sorry I was. You know, and they forgave me. So that was a huge experience. That was a huge part of that big heavy pack that I was carrying around with me all my life. You know, suddenly that was alleviated. I remember I was standing in a shop when I got the call. And then I just sat there and I had this massive, like, overwhelming feeling inside me. There was that moment there where I made the amends. That's when I really started to feel this peace and ease. There was a moment in step 4 where I was getting a bit disconnected because I was starting to write down all this stuff, you know, all the things that had happened in my life. And there was a bit of disconnect there. And I woke up thick-headed. And I thought, oh, actually, is this for me? You know, I started having those thoughts again, you know, actually, I've got a better idea. Let's go back to that old misery go round that I used to be on. But I reconnected with the steps. So the magical magnificence of the universe, the metaphysical magnificence is step 2, come to believe in a power greater than myself. I went back and I swam in the sea. So I was feeling clogged up and I was feeling messy and I was feeling beaten up. And I went and jumped in the ocean. It was freezing cold. And I just swam under the water, swam around the sun. And I came back over and a magical thing happened. There was a little old woman that walked around the corner. I mentioned it the other day on the other one, but I'll say it again because it's when that peace started, which is what the question that was asked. So I come back over and this little old woman walked around the corner. I'd never seen her before. And she sort of said, hello, you been for a swim? It's like, yeah, I was had a towel and a pair of shorts. So I was like, yes, I'm speaking now. I'm awake. I'm alive. I can actually talk to people. And she said, oh, you have your kids a lot, don't you? I see you playing over the beach with your kids because every time they come over, we always go over the beach. I said, that's right. She said, I'll tell you what, love. She said, I'm a bit old now. She said, I've got a beach hut over there. Anytime you want to use it, come and knock on my door and you can use it. Now, she lives at number 9. I'm covered in tattoos. I've got tattoos all over my body. On my left arm, I've got the number 9, which is tattooed there. Now, I didn't get number 9 tattooed on my hand to make this story better. If I do shares, I had number 9 tattooed on my arm, you know? And I was like, I remember walking back up to this flat and going, what just happened there? You know, I was in self, seconds away from calling the dealer, giving up, going back to a miserable existence. But I made a decision to connect with the steps. I made a decision to connect with the universe. I made a decision to connect with God.
How long ago was this?
And this thing happens. This was, maybe 7 months ago, something like that. You know, wow. So it was a real...
you hear that, people. This is a daily struggle. He's not telling you some ancient story about 10 years ago when he became a new man. He's talking about 7 months ago when he was on the brink of relapse and self-instruction, certain insanity or death, like the big book says. You hear that, people. You want to listen. The details matter, right? 7 months ago, 2023, he's talking.
And then that was it, you know. And then all of a sudden, I remember sitting there going, you know, what happened there? What happened there? And that was just that first real sign of like, wow, okay, I know what I need to do. I've got a pathway here. I have a path to follow, steps to follow. Keeping the steps, you know, keeping the steps. The minute I step out of these steps, and it's not like robotic, you know, I don't sit there and go, right, hold on, this is happening. Step 4. It just becomes a very natural way to live, you know, which is fantastic.
Well, here's what I'm hearing in there. Here's the big book I'm hearing and what Purdy's saying, party people. Must not drift. Right? See, if you're the real addict, if you're the real drowning man like Purdy or woman like me, we know that when we're drifting, there's a serious undertide. It's dangerous. I live here in Jerusalem, just to give another perspective in our beautiful multicolored fellowship. And I saw I was drifting. That bitter morass of self-pity was pulling me down. And I was real irritated at everything anyone in my home did. And I was irritated at the mess. You know what I did, Purdy? I took myself down to the Gaza Strip to see the homes of the hostages and all the people who were murdered. That was my swim in the freezing cold. Because, see, we don't mess around, people. You know, this spiritual cartel, I'm his spiritual sister. I took myself down to the Gaza Strip to see houses that were blown into smithereens with bullet holes and missile barrage, where people were burned alive. Because that's how serious my issue is. That's what I did. And it's funny, people went there and they were shaken up. I went there to get back into gratitude, to get back and thankful for all I have. That, thank God, those are the only bullet holes I've ever seen. Those are the only, you know, burnt houses I've ever seen and hopefully will ever see. To thank God that I'm part of a world of love and tolerance, not hatred and genocide. Again, back to your story, but I get you, you know. We don't joke around when we jump in the freezing cold ocean or take ourselves, you know, to the war zone. And that's where we find peace. How crazy is that, right? Common sense becomes uncommon sense. Okay, fine. So you were about to relapse. And how did that start? What was that first thought, right? What was, could you trace back what took you almost to the brink of relapse?
The process of going through amends, you know, the process of putting sort of pen to paper, the process of reliving my life, looking at, I suppose the part there was, it was as you start to get better as well, you start to think about, like the loss of my wife. Could I have saved her? Could I have saved her? I think I could have saved her. So all of a sudden there's a new thing was plotting in my mind, you know, like I say, a new thing started to twist around in my mind and thinking, oh my God, I could have saved her. I could have helped her. Could have saved her life, you know. So it was all these things. It was self. I was thinking about things that I could have done, things I should have done, coulda, woulda, shoulda. And I started to get back into self, and that's where it started to manifest. You know, it manifested in self is where I started to feel that illness again. So, you know, I had to pretty quickly get back into the steps and reconnect with the universe and carry on, you know.
Yeah. Like we said, drifted into self. He drifted. Because the minute he thought Purdy could have saved her, he forgot that only God could have saved her, right? Only God could have saved her. That was the perfect design, the perfect plan. We don't know why. It hurts. We allow crying. But it was perfect. Everything is perfect in this moment. Talk to us about your daily spiritual practice and connect. Talk to us about that. You told us about the beads, meditation. Why don't you talk about our spiritual practice and then about sponsoring?
Yeah, no problem at all. So, routine key. Like I say, just very natural process now. That's not thought of or tried or tested. You know, there's no way that I remember I used to wake up and I used to sort of push against it sometimes, you know, and go, oh, actually, I'll leave. Not anymore. You know, it's very much every single day. Yes, the beads go on. I wake up, I take them off. I have a Buddha that sits on the side of my bed. They hang over Buddha. I wake up in the morning, I put my beads on my neck. As soon as I get them, I go into prayer and I get quiet, you know. A lot of the times I start off my prayer with thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll say that many times. It was a Muji that I watched and I love that prayer because it was just saying thank you, you know, and how appreciative I am, how full of gratitude, how to look after my fellows, look after everybody else, make sure, you know, taking care of everybody, and just have that moment where you can just get really quiet and really grateful and really thankful every single morning and get that. I mean it, you know, not messing about, not like prayer, done, meditation, done, gratitude list. What am I grateful for? Air, water, meadows, rainbows. Yeah. No, you know, I actually have to feel these things. So yes, beads on, sit down, hands together, pray. Smile, feel it. I want to feel the energy running through my body. I want to feel that. I want to feel that deep gratitude. I want to be really, really thankful. Mean it, you know, mean it. mean it. That's how I have to start off my day. Then into meditation. And that can be very different. But what I mean by that is just obviously how sometimes I'll connect with music. Sometimes I'll have silence, complete silence. Sometimes I have music into silence. Sometimes I'll have guided. It doesn't matter for me. It's just to have that, however I'm feeling on that morning, whatever I fancy. Sometimes I fancy a bit of Muji. There's some fellows that I work with in the fellowship. Beautiful Kimia, some fantastic meditations. There's lots of different ways I can connect, or just have that complete silence. But I love that part. I love that two-way conversation, that quiet, discerning the answers within. Because when I open eyes, it's like a rebirth. And that's the best way to describe it. It is rebirth. That's how it feels. Get that feeling every single morning, and it puts a smile on my face. And then I think, right, then I can go in and I can make I can start my gratitude list. Make myself a hot water with lemon. When I sit there and I get quiet, it was my hot lemon and honey this morning. I'll cut the lemon. Be here now in a place of love, not fear. Cut the lemon. Put the lemon into the cup. Feel the lemon sliding down the side of the cup like an insane person. Put the hot water in the cup. Put my hands around the cup. Feel the warmth and the energy from the hot water. Smell the lemon and smell the water that's coming in through the thing. Sit there and look out at this beautiful universe. Take a sip. Sit down and write gratitude. What am I grateful for? And like I say, not a tick box exercise because it's something I've got to get done. What am I grateful for? My beautiful children, the life that I get to live today. Sometimes if I talk about the universe, I might just look out and I look at it as a visual. I'll go and get involved. I'll go and dip my toe in the water, or I'll go and roll around on the grass, or I'll go and, whatever, get involved. A feeling has to be a feeling. So, it's not just a tick box exercise for me. It's a scripture. It's something that gets written every single morning because I need to pull it out of me. Because again, if I don't, and I start to let Purdy's thinking take over, then, I'm in a world of trouble. That's proven. So, very, very important to have that morning routine, and it's an hour, and it's roughly, it's not hours and hours and hours. It's, it's just a process that has to happen every morning, because when it does, I feel a peace. And I can almost just, like this morning, I've done all those things this morning and I'm smiling, and I can't explain it other than it's an internal, and it feels great, man. It's amazing. Was there another part to that question?
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to respond to that just to make sure. If anyone here is sitting on the line and saying, well, I woke up late, or I'm not a morning person. So I thought I woke up at 6:30 today, and I realized it was 7:30. And I forced myself to go to exercise. But you know what? The minute exercise ended, I pulled out my prayer book and I said my prayers. I didn't know whether I should go to the bank or go to the office, clean my house, or continue with errands. I really didn't know. And I just stopped in my gym and I prayed there, and I had a beautiful prayer. So don't feel if you're not like on your knees at 5 a.m. or if you missed a day, right? This is a one day at a time, one moment at a time program. I don't want any of you guys to be intimidated by this amazing, amazing, special recovered man in front of us. He's also 1 minute at a time, one day at a time. He may have more discipline, right? Because we addicts are undisciplined. We let God discipline us. So he might just have more muscle. He might be doing this for more years, or if we use the gym metaphor, he may be working out for longer. He may be in better spiritual shape. But, if you didn't do it at 6 a.m., you could do it at 7 a.m. If you didn't do it at 7 a.m., you could do it at 8:30. If you didn't do it all those times, you could do it the minute you get off this Zoom. And you know what? It could be as short as God help. Help is a full prayer. Help includes humility, submission, letting go of self. Just help. Help me get that disability stipend. And for us addicts, it's like that. Like, we have to live the spiritual life. Like, most of us on here who are the real deal, if not all of us, we know that we don't have any other choice. It's bad news. We're beyond the point of choice. To turn to the next question, the other question I had asked Purdy was to hear about your step 12 process. We spoke a little bit about step 11 now, so it's a nice progression. Talk to us about working with others, how you make the approach, how you do you do it just in the form of speaking on meetings? Do you have sponsees? Are you available to sponsor? How do you recommend other people start sponsoring? All things step 12. Just take it away.
No problem. Thank you. So yes, it's you know, the book says, you know, we go after and we make the approach. I think, you know, you come when I first came into this, and I wanted to sponsor. You know, I was so excited to take someone through the work. You know, I remember it, and so I was on everyone. You know, I was like, if I saw I was on the chat, and I'm sort of like, I'm listening to the speaker, and my eyes are going down to the chat like that. I'm sort of going, right, come on, any second now, you know, and then a number would go in, brand new help, and I'd be like on it. So, you know, I think I went over the top to start with. And, you know, again, you learn a lot of lessons in this. I think I had 9 sponsees, like in my first few weeks, you know, so I was working with 9 different people, you know, and I had, it was just like my life was consumed with helping people and getting through with fellowship. And it was fine. It was fine, but it was too much. You know, it was too much. It was like, I'm going to save the world. I'm going to save the world. I feel so good. I feel so happy. I'm going to save the world. And you learn lessons in that. Of course you do, because you've got to give people the proper time. You've got to, you know, be able to deliver the proper message, you know, as opposed to just trying to save everybody. But yeah, we got through the process, and I started sponsoring lots of people. I've been very fortunate in my journey to have had lots of sponsees. I
still relate to that, by the way. Just, you know.
Yeah. That's
just
right.
This week, I was like, I got to get a sponsee. I'm drifting. And I got 2. And it's like, one I started with and we clicked and we were going good. And the other one kept trying to reach me and I didn't have time. And it's just like, we're armed with the facts. It's not working to do, you know. I was like, okay, Karen, you just take this one, do it right, give it your best, and then you'll move on to the next one. You know, we learn things as we go.
It's vital. It is. I mean, I remember sort of doing it an hour, and there was 9 sponsees, and I was giving each one of them an hour a day. It was 9-10 hours. You know, at the end of it, I was like, wow. You know, it was too much. It was too much. And but you know, like you learn. We're humans, and we learn these things, and it's beautiful and it's fine. And then it is. So the sponsorship sort of went down. So I started doing 2. That increased to 4 because I was like, but now it's very much I keep it within 2. You know, I have a 2 sponsorship line. I've got 2 that I'm working with at the moment, which is I'm always sponsoring. I'm never not sponsoring. You know, that's another thing. I'm always in sponsorship. I'm always sponsoring others. There isn't a point where I haven't got a sponsee. You know, so that's because I need to keep constantly, you know, rebuilding that spiritual home, putting the looking after it, maintaining it. You know, every time I take someone through the steps, I'm going through the steps again. So it's you know, it's a vital part of my recovery. But yeah, I you know, live in that step 12 process, always available. My phone's always on. You know, that we have Spiritual Cartel, which is you know, another platform to have step 12 through. You know, to have that meeting now. It averages, well, over the last 2 days, it averages over 90 people a night, 94. So we have a lot of people on there, and I just see the numbers going in the chat. Sponsor. I speak to the people within the team that work in the triangle, you know, that are doing the service on the unit, and I've picked up another sponsor. You know, step 12 in action.
Yes. This man took that seriously. Go out and create your next 100, the big book tells us.
Yep.
Before us is a man who took that seriously. He wasn't just reading literature. You know, he wasn't just sitting on his nightstand with like a scented candle or whatever. Go out and make your next 100. And for people who are listening, if you're not sponsoring, talk to us about what you get out of sponsoring. You start to say you get through the steps, but tell them.
Yeah, you get. It's someone. I've asked a question actually on the last podcast. I think someone in the audience said, "I'm fearful of it. How do I do it?" You know, you've got the answers. Like, because I think that's when a bit like what you were talking about a minute ago there with prayer. Sometimes it could just be help me. Sometimes it could just be take away my thinking because my thinking is not right. Sometimes it could be thank you. It doesn't have to be some beautiful scripture that has been written. You know, it doesn't have to be that. It can just be you putting.
Yeah, it can even be an action, like he's saying, jumping in the ocean. That's a prayer. That's a prayer. Me getting on a bus, you know, I went on a bus with a bunch of women I didn't know, of like a different kind of religious group, and I met the most amazing women. But that's a prayer. God, get me reconnected to manhood, mankind.
Yeah.
Get me re-inspired about fellow women. Get me let me believe again. Even as addicts, we've taken a lot of hits. We've been hurt a lot of times. Sometimes we go back to that. We drift, right? We get back to that place of like, oh, everyone's looking out for themselves, or I can't trust anyone, or I'm alone, or like you said, spiritually homeless. And it's like, yeah, I just like forced myself, got on a bus with like 50 women I don't know. And one was more amazing than the next. And I was interested in them and they were interested in me. And I was like, that's a prayer, taking your 2 feet and going somewhere when you want to sit on the couch. That's called a prayer. That's called your feet are praying.
Yeah.
Jumping into the ocean. Your arms are praying.
Definitely. And, and that's it's vital. Those things are so important. I think like sponsorship, if you've gone through the steps, if your life was miserable, if which it was, 99 times out of 100, they're absolutely full of stress, pain, misery, suffering, and everything else. And we come into a program where that gets lifted. We try and work out how, but it does. It gets lifted. It's the obsession gets removed. No longer triggering the allergy, and we're trying to live on this spiritual plane, and we feel recovered. That's your story. That's it. And take someone through that way. And that was it for me. It was like, what? This is my story, honesty. This is my story. And this is how I feel now. What a beautiful way to sponsor. And I've been very fortunate in the last sort of 6 months or so. It's last 5-6 months. I've lots of people come to me and ask me and speak to me about it. Could you sponsor me? Could you sponsor me? And I'm really grateful for that, because obviously someone can see a light in me, or can see something. I hope it inspire or give people hope, which is a beautiful thing, because people will obviously come and ask me to sponsor. And again, I have to now. There's times, and I diarize it and I work it out, and I almost know sort of when I'm going to be sort of achieving steps and get through. So it's a busy diary, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful, and all I do is tell my story. I don't, I tell my story. I've got all the tools I need. I've got the book. I've got God. I've got my experience, and that's it. That's it. Love it.
Amazing. Gosh, my thought just escaped, but that's okay. That's what God wants. He's working with others. This is a 12-step program. People, you want to work with others, because that's where the amazingness happens. Any of us who are sponsoring other people, we're getting out much more than we put in. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say. It was Big Book. Your past becomes your greatest asset, right? All these horror stories that he had, all these horror stories that I had with, relatives with mental illness and addiction, and bringing my brother's coffin in cargo to be buried here in Israel, and, blah, blah, blah. We all have our own war stories. We're not gonna throw those all on the table, because we all got them. Our past becomes our greatest asset. Like the most amazing, our sickness becomes our, as Cameron F puts it, those of us who have the worst resumes are the best candidates for the job, right? All our sick, sorrowful, distorted, demented, deluded past are like our pride and joy these days. So with that, I invite you to go through the 12 steps, to take steps, to join us to build your own spiritual home, as Purdy put it. And I'm going to ask you, Purdy, if you will, to pray us out, to invite us a minute in your spiritual home, or to sit side by side with you in ours, and pray us out today. And one last thing, before the prayer, your 7th tradition, you could go to Reco12 if you're inspired to contribute to our Zoom costs or technical costs. You could do so by PayPal or Venmo, and back to spiritual matters.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you. Thank you for such a beautiful meeting, Karen. Really appreciate it, and lots of love to everybody. Okay, it's the set aside prayer for me. Beautiful prayer. So, God, today, help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery, so that I may have an open mind, a new experience of all these things. Please help me see the truth. Amen.
Amen. Thanks. Thank you, Purdy. Thank you, everyone who was here. Go out, set aside everything you knew until now. Let's all have a brand new, spiritually filled and fulfilled day. Thank you.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. I'm looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.